Hey guys, I'm doing the self-shot one, so you know I'm in bunker mode. Uh, I'm sure, you can't have missed it by now. The Brexit vote happened, and I'm sure everyone in the world is commenting on it, but I can't help but throw my 2 cents in there, which is kind of a waste of time because about 6 people watch these videos, and most of them by accident, but be that as it may. Uh, like quite a few preppers and weirdos and those who've dropped out, I see a conspiracy in the world, or at least a guiding hand behind so many events. And I'll be honest with you, I just didn't see this one coming. The elites, the powers that be, have been pushing us towards globalization and integration ever since World War One. Actually, probably even a little bit before World War One. This has been a goal for generations. It may even be just like an underpinning theme throughout all of history, for all I know. I don't know, but it blew my mind that that this Brexit thing was allowed to happen, especially considering all the newspapers that backed it. The media is just in the control of a real small group of people, and these are the people who want the consolidation and the globalization, and that all these British newspapers came out in support of Brexit, to me, is highly suspicious. Is very, very suspicious. My guess, my gut is that those few big fish at the top decided they were going to cash out and get a bunch of money out of the upper middle management. The billionaires decided they were going to get their money off of the 100 millionaires, and the 100 millionaires thought there was no way in the world the billionaires were ever going to let this thing happen, and so they bet accordingly. The billionaires, came out and on one hand and said they were against Brexit, and then prepared behind the scenes for the Brexit to happen so that they could fleece the 100 millionaires. That's my theory. Who knows what it's worth? I'll tell you this. When I was in the Marines, I was on a number of UN and NATO missions. Bosnia and Haiti, and some other places, Kosovo. We didn't land in Kosovo, but we were the first ones to respond. We left and someone else came in to go in. Don't want to do any stolen honor. So I got to see these global institutions work kind of firsthand on a grassroots level, and they're just incredibly incompetent. They're not capable of taking over the world as they're constituted. They're bureaucrats. They're arrogant, and their egos are always competing. And so there's not like this grand conspiracy that's running the world. They're not smart enough and they're not competent enough. But there is a grand conspiracy that's trying to run the world. And there are a few people there at the top, George Soros-style people, the Richard Bransons of the world, the Warren Buffetts, who I don't trust that little snake. Something about that guy, I don't trust him at all. Anyway, these guys are trying to run the world, and Soros especially gets this huge thrill out of being this great power behind the scenes, pulling all these strings and everything. But what's that mean for us? Us little guys down here on the bottom, just trying to live with some dignity and some self-autonomy. And the truth of the matter is, it doesn't mean anything. Here, this is Friday. It's 4:30, almost 5 o'clock on a Friday when I'm filming this. Markets are closed here in America. There was a 611-point drop in the Dow. I think the NASDAQ, it dropped like 4% or 5%. Or it's not that the actual percentage doesn't matter. And the thing is, nothing's actually happened yet. There was a vote for them to leave. It's going to take years for Britain to get out of the EU. It's going to take years, a minimum of 2 years, before there's a single change in how anyone makes their money or gets paid or how anything actually functions. We're at least 2 years away from any functional change, and the market's freaked out and dumped almost 4%. The Dow Jones dumped almost 4%. That right there tells you how fragile this whole system is, how it's built on just shifting sand, and it's all perception. As long as everyone agrees that worthless green slips of paper can be exchanged for goods and services, this thing keeps going. But the instant people stop accepting, sorry, the boys are in the background having some fun. Boys, stop. Sorry. But the end, there goes the phone. The instant we all stop believing that that these worthless green slips of paper can be exchanged for goods and services, the whole thing collapses. And the very fact that these financial whiz kids are all freaking out and the markets are dropping tell you how fragile they realize the system is. Are we all going to wake up Monday to a tragedy? No. Most likely Monday morning, everything's going to go just fine for us little people down here at the bottom. That's the great advantage of being the little people down at the bottom. We can live simple, normal lives and not have to worry a whole lot about this. Thank you, son. I'll talk to him in a minute about this craziness happening in the world. Does that mean nothing's going to happen? Well, Monday there's going to be some financial fallout. I think the global elites did get rattled. People are going to start trying to take some advantage. The Soros and the Warren Buffetts and all those money men are going to try to make their profits and exercise their power and stroke each other's egos. So yeah, we're probably entering a period of financial uncertainty for people at the top. But you know what? That's not a bad thing. The people at the top need to have some financial uncertainty. What's going to happen for us down here at the bottom? We're going to see some. I'm not smart enough to know if this is going to be inflation or deflation. The British pound has already started tanking. They're way down. That's actually good for the people on the bottom, though. Most of us on here on the bottom, we don't have a lot of savings. We don't have a lot of financial assets and investments and everything. So when our currency devalues in our current screwed up system, it's good. It's good because our savings aren't losing its value. Our goods and services become more competitive, and it helps us here on the bottom. It's bad for the guys at the top if there's too much of a drop in currency. Everyone's really worried about either too much inflation or deflation or too little inflation. We've got our system on such a knife edge right now that we've got to have 2% inflation to help us pay off our debt, because everyone has so much debt. You need inflation to make it cheaper to pay off the debt, because if you borrowed $1 and then you make $1 only be worth 75 cents and you pay off your dollar with $1, you're actually only paying off 75 cents. It gets really weird. But this is the system they've got themselves into. So they need 2% inflation, but they can't have too much inflation. Well, then all of us guys down here on the bottom start getting mad because we need a wheelbarrow full of money to go buy bread. And then Hitler rises up and there's massive bloodletting, and it's bad for business, because I don't care what you say, war is not good for business. War might be good for 3 or 4 guys at the top, but no one knows which 3 or 4 guys that's going to be, not even those 3 or 4 guys. So they can't have too much inflation. They can't have too little inflation, and they can't have deflation. They're scared to death of deflation, because then their debt is not payable. So they've borrowed all this money. They've borrowed $1, and now, so in deflation, your money's worth more, so it's harder to earn more money, but you've still got this debt you got to pay off. So where you may have been earning $1 to pay off your $1, now you're only earning 50 cents to pay off that $1 loan. So deflation scares the elites to death. Absolutely scares them to death. Oh boy, I might have to start this one all over. But so what's the takeaway? Well, the takeaway is live a good, simple life out in the country and stay away from all this foolishness. You know what? the quality of life you think you you gain from living in the city and having a high stress, supposedly high powered, high paying job ain't worth what it costs you. Get out of them cities, get out of as much as you can out of that system, get in the country, start learning how to raise some food and some children, because that's, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's the only thing you're going to leave behind. And the reason this whole system is collapsing is because we quit having children. Any system would work if we had a dynamic growing population of Christians. That's what it boils down to. I mean, we could say productive citizens interested in contributing, but what that boils down to is Christians and Jews and Christians. And we don't have that anymore. We're dying. I know I just strayed into some things that would be called racism. But it's not about race. Anyone can be a Christian. Anyone can be Hebraic. Not anyone can be a Jew, but you can get into that ideology. So that's it. Don't panic, because what's coming's coming no matter what. You can't stop it. But this isn't the event. This isn't the collapse. This is the beginning. This is when the global elites start realizing, no, maybe our plan's not working yet. We're not ready to. This isn't coming into fruition. Let's pull back and let them fend for themselves for a little while. And you'll see them. There's going to be some attempts to punish Britain. There's going to be some attempts for other countries to leave the EU. We're starting to come into the period of uncertainty on the part of the elites, not the financial elites, because they've known for a while, but for the governmental elites and the bureaucrats and the media types and all those people who thought they had this thing under control and they knew where it was going and they were able to make the monkeys dance. Now they start realizing the monkeys aren't dancing. So start watching in about a year or so, about January, February, and we'll know if this was the beginning of a major correction or not. But as far as your day-to-day life, this isn't going to affect you immediately. But get ready, because it's coming.